Hello and welcome to another video. With 2.0 approaching us very quickly, there's a lot of things you need to consider with how much the roster has grown since launch. Reruns are going to be a lot more frequent, but I think there's a bigger picture we should be looking at. The game's ever changing and always growing, and a lot of these units we have right now won't compare to anything we have in the future. Join me as I try and go over some of these characters that you should be on the lookout for, as a new player and as someone who's playing for a long time. Consider some of these units for the future of your account, and let's look ahead at a few of our options coming out. If you can, I'd love if you take the time to subscribe. It's small, but it would really mean the world to me, and I'd love to see you all again soon. Also, I'm curious about your thoughts in the comments down below. What characters are you most looking forward to being reran, as well as looking forward to being released later? Now, let's get back to the video. I think a great starting point is, let's talk about the two current banners right now. That being Argenti, our newest addition to the roster, as well as Silverwolf having her first rerun since her debut in 1.1. Argenti is a really great character. If you're watching this video at the time of this release, I think there's quite a few things you should consider if you want to pull for him or not. He's a very simplistic character whose goal is to use his skill in order to charge up his double ultimate, to deal massive damage with his insane multiplier. However, Argenti also suffers from that with his very simplistic style of play. People will find that boring, and will proceed not to give him as much credit as he's due. But for a newer player, I feel his ease of use, as well as the simplistic style he allows for you to build him with, is a lot easier to manage, and also allows you to focus on what matters most, that being his ultimate. It's guaranteed damage, he cleans out trash mobs so easily, and as an erudition unit, I think his potential only is going to grow later in the future with the introduction of pure fiction. Argenti does have specific teams he likes to be in. He's a very selfish character who would best benefit with characters that buff him and provide him with more energy. But he is the star of the show, and if you do try to build around him, he'll provide you with elegance and beauty that outshines the world around him. Moving on to our next character, that would be Silverwolf. And she's one of those characters where a lot of people feel like she's hit or miss, but for a newer player, I think Silverwolf is the best option you can pick up for your account. The hardest part about starting this game sometimes is having trouble matching those elements. You don't really have many units built early on, but Silverwolf allows you to not really have to worry about that anymore, and she does help apply that extra type of weakness to a target. She applies a couple debuffs that helps make your fights go a bit easier with the bugs that she provides, as well as her ultimate also gives defense shred on the target, making the fight a bit easier as well. Silverwolf's an investment early on, and she still has so much more value in the future for your account. Just because you have options doesn't mean the character has gotten worse. Her defense shred alone gives her more value than a lot of the roster currently. The game focuses more on multiple enemies on the field, so someone like Pela seems to outshine Silverwolf in comparison. I do, however, think that Silverwolf shows a lot more play in the future, where maybe we'll just have one or two enemies to focus on instead, and her buff starts to show a lot more value in and of itself. Let's move on to a different type of character now. I want to talk about our 5-star sustainers that have been released so far since the game's launch. That would be Luocha, Huo Huo, and Xuan. Of these three, I think there's one that just goes above and beyond with everything. And I think if there's a choice that you should pull for, it's definitely Xuan. Xuan can do everything. She redirects a portion of the damage from the team to herself. She provides the team with a crit buff, as well as she provides them with additional health. Once she takes the damage and she goes below 50% of her health, she can then heal a majority of the damage back with her talent. Her talents are stacks, and each stack allows for this effect to trigger once. This isn't to mention that her ultimate allows for her to get back a stack of her talent, but additionally also heals the team based on a small portion of her max health and some flat HP on top of that. Xuan is by far the best sustain you can pull for, and I would recommend it to anyone over the other two any day. This isn't to discredit the other two, well, more in the line of not discrediting Huo Huo. Huo Huo is a mixture of an abundance healer as well as a harmony character. Her healing isn't the very best, but the energy and attack buff she gives from her ultimate help provide her so much more for the team. It also allows for more team comps to shine, and also allows for a bit more variety in certain team comps. Because of the fact that she also acts as a pseudo harmony character. Luocha is a great healer, but that's all he can do. A lot of the arguments for Luocha is he's a skill point friendly character, but we're hitting the point in the game where I don't think that's enough. Just because you're an SP positive unit doesn't mean that's a pass for what the other two can even handle. The skill points are great, and I get it, but Luocha is really just a character that you'll benefit from and enjoy more if you are just autoing through content. Despite that, all three of these sustainers are still S tier units. There isn't any situation where you can put these characters in it and they won't benefit you. So it's almost like it's worth just going for them no matter what. If you can have at least 2 of these units, I think that's better, and you should just stop at that point until something comes along in the future where you can just replace one of them with someone else instead who fits your certain team comp. Kafka is an interesting character, and I will happily admit that there may be some bias when it comes to bringing her up as a character you should try and look out for in the future if she comes back. Kafka is an enabler for dot teams, and her core gameplay of being able to explode those dots is such a great mechanic. She's also super easy to build, since all she really cares about is attack percent and speed. Some effect hit rate would be great too to sprinkle in, but it's not the end of the world if you do miss out on some. There's also crit builds that are just builds that work because their multipliers are kind of nice. Kafka being able to blow up dots makes her a future-proof investment of a character. She will slot in with any character that releases in the future that does have dots as their gameplay standpoint. I feel like if you're a fan of the dot gameplay playstyle, you should definitely be pulling for Kafka, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not picking her up. Especially since her value will only increase later on once we do have that 5-star Nihility dot character that can coincide with her as well for that synergy. I also think it's worth looking into the future of the game and seeing some of the characters that are going to be coming soon. Ruan Mei is the first character that will be appearing in the 1.6 patch, and also our first 5-star Harmony limited character. There's so much information about this character that has been mentioned, and I hear other creators talk about her from time to time, but I currently don't feel comfortable enough to bring up any of that information just yet, but trust me when I say that in these next couple of weeks, once we have more official information from the live stream, and we start getting sneak peeks, she is a character that you don't want to miss out on. The same goes for Dr. Ratio. There's not much information about him overall, but being a 5-star Hunt Limited character, I'm sure there's going to be some good stuff about him, and he'll pack a punch. There's a few things I think it's worth noting when it comes to your account state and planning ahead. We're approaching the end of our first generation of characters. In 2.0, we'll be seeing characters that do so much more than anything we've got in the game as of right now. The game will continue to get harder, and characters will continue to get stronger. You'll start to see that with the more options that you have, there will be more opportunities or chances where you can just skip a character until they come out again, and build your teams around these characters that you do want or have in the future. The hardest part about starting these games later than when it launches is that you're always in this catch-up state. It's why, even though some of these old characters may be a great option for you right now to pull, I'd also say it's worth investing in a newer character release in the future a lot more. I feel like it's always worth mentioning this because at the end of the day, you truly should just pull for what you want, but I think planning ahead and having a clear idea of what teams should I be building for? What are the playstyles I find the most fun? Will this character be better for me with where I'm at now? These are all important questions you should start thinking about and considering, while we're in this bit of a downtime period for now, until we start heading to the next planet. And that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching, and I do appreciate y'all for sticking out through the end. It's a bit of a different video from what I'm used to doing, and I had a little bit of a harder time getting my thoughts together for it, but I think it's a great topic to bring up and talk about for the future. For now, that's all we've got. I'll see you around next time. Peace.